Greetings everyone and welcome to my channel. I'm your host Captain Ryan. Today's video comes to us courtesy of Storm Surge Alpha. And Storm Surge is playing in the unholy love child of a Khabarovsk and a Gearing, the Tier 10 Soviet destroyer Grozovoi, here in World of Warships. As the battle gets underway, it's Shatter, it's Domination Match Mode, and it is obviously a Tier 10 game. Storm Surge is headed off to the A cap point, which is the cap he spawned closest to, and he's not alone. He's got another friendly destroyer coming with him, as well as several support ships, including some cruisers and some battleships. Now, the Grozovoi is a destroyer that a lot of people don't seem to play. In comparison, the Khabarovsk always seems like the go-to Soviet destroyer, the pinnacle, basically just a mini light cruiser. By comparison, the Grozovoi is more of your traditional destroyer. Now, I call it an unholy love child between a Khabarovsk and a Gearing because it's got that combination of things. It's got decent torpedoes with decent range, decent speed, and decent damage. It's also got decent main guns. No, they're not the Khabarovsk's main guns, but they can easily set fires and more than easily engage with enemy destroyers. In fact, I would compare the Grozovoi here to about the Z-52, actually, in its capabilities. However, unlike the Z-52, it doesn't get a hydroacoustic. But what it does get is that defensive fire consumable, just like the American destroyers. And initially when this destroyer was released, it was touted as the new anti-aircraft destroyer platform. Its AA has since taken a bit of a nerf, but with that defensive fire, you're still talking about an incredibly good and an incredibly effective rate of anti-aircraft fire off of this. Definitely capable of dominating anything less than a Tier 9 carrier. So if you happen to be playing in a carrier and you run into a Grozovoi, probably best to keep your planes away from that guy until a little bit later in the match, maybe when he's low health. Storm Surge's team manages to take an early lead by taking out one of the enemy destroyers, so that's going to give them an instant advantage here. Now you'll notice that Storm Surge didn't immediately go into the A cap point. Instead, he bypassed it completely. He's rushed up here, he's continuing to spot for his team, and he's got an enemy Yamato pushing around this island. Now this Yamato knows he's detected, but I'm not entirely sure he's fully aware what exactly is targeting him. Now, Storm Surge isn't the one detecting him because he's behind an island. So in this respect, the Yamato is kind of right to assume that enemy destroyer isn't going to be all the way up here. But Grozovoi is a fast destroyer and can definitely cover this distance. So Storm Surge is going to go ahead and he's going to use a classic American destroyer captain tactic. He's going to push up here behind this island. He's going to keep this island between him and that Yamato as long as possible, and he's going to reduce the range that his torpedoes have to travel. So here he's got first set off and he's got a second set off. 2 sets of 5 headed towards that Yamato, and that Yamato now has no chance. There's nothing he can do to avoid these torpedoes at this point, given how fast he came around that corner. And so that is going to be a devastating strike and a first kill for Storm Surge in the Grozovoi. 10 torpedo hits though. Look how many torpedoes it took to actually take down that Yamato. So these torpedoes aren't as high damage as American destroyer torpedoes, or even the Japanese destroyer torpedoes, but they do cause a lot of damage. Now the reload on them is quite a while in comparison, but for a Tier 10 reload, it's actually not bad. It's less than 1.5 minutes from the looks of it, or right about 1.5 minutes. So with that Yamato dead, the team can actually now go ahead and push up and start challenging this flank. And since they've got the numerical superiority, there should be no excuse why they can't push this flank. But at this point, you'll notice that the enemy team is the only one who's actually managed to cap. Storm Surge's team is in the process of contesting at C, but they can't get around that island to spot the destroyer who's likely sitting in that cap, preventing them from capping. In the meantime, the A cap point is still uncapped. The entirety of Storm Surge's team on this flank effectively bypassed it and just went up the side. So Storm Surge is going to go ahead and he's going to cap it. Remember, sweet, sweet capping XP. And it's important that they get in this cap because they've lost another ship here. So they're down 2. The enemy is down 3, and they've lost 2 of their destroyers, so they've lost their destroyer advantage at this point. But even though they've lost their destroyer advantage, they still have some powerful destroyers. Speaking of which, here's the gearing. So, gearing versus Grozovoi. The Harborovsk is really the only ship that a gearing thinks it needs to be afraid of, but the Grozovoi is equally scary because it's got those same kind of firepower options with its main battery. And so what Storm Surge is going to do, since he can't cap the base while that gearing is sitting in there, and since that gearing was partially distracted by the friendly destroyer, he's actually going to go ahead, he's just going to push up and he's going to chase him down. With any luck, he'll be able to spot him and start causing problems. And that gearing is actually lower health here. So he's going to go ahead, he's going to open up, look at that rate of fire, look at that, he's already managed to knock something out and set him on fire. Is he going to be able to get the kill? Yes, he does manage to do it before the gearing can fully get his guns turned around and back on him. So gearing is dead, there's now just 1 enemy destroyer left, and Storm Surge is free to cap the Alpha point. His team has managed to cap the Charlie point, so at the very least, they're going to start gaining some points. Now, before that gearing popped up, I was going to say they really do need caps, because while they're up on ships, the enemy team having that cap means that they're going to keep gaining points. And so long as the enemy can gain points in spite of losing ships, you're going to have a bad time. But you can see here, his team is really dominating the situation on this flank. They've completely routed the enemy, so they're going to start flanking around and basically force the enemy to roll back over to the C cap point. This is going to be good for the players at the C cap point because really now all they have to do is just kind of sit there and wait. Hold on to the location, maintain your health, and then come back and start attacking. Attack from both sides. Force the enemy team to decide who they're going to give broadside to. Now, Storm Surge is in a prime position to head to the B cap point, so that's what he's going to do. And he's going to head off there and secure that. And once the B cap point is secure, the enemy team is in a real bad situation because that means they are no longer going to gain any points at all. So their only options to deal with the situation is to kill and then cap. Even if they manage to kill everything, with the exception of a destroyer or 2, if they don't cap, they're not going to be able to win because Storm Surge's team is going to have all of the points. So Storm Surge pushes up here. He's not alone. Friendly destroyer is also up here with him. You can see the destroyer's torpedoes going out there from the Shimakaze. And those are headed towards the ships that are somewhat pushing back towards the B cap point. Fortunately, they're still out of range, and the Grozovoi does have a pretty substantial detectability range. It is bigger than the Z-52, so at the very least, there's something that the Z-52 can spot without being spotted for a period of time. So Storm Surge is going to go ahead, and now that the B cap point's captured, and that sweet, sweet capping XP, he's actually going to open up with his guns here on this battleship. With any luck, he'll be able to set him on fire, and he does, because Soviet stellinium shells always light fires, no matter what. Boops, friendly teammate here, and he's going to go ahead and he's going to push up here. Now, the last enemy destroyer is at the C cap point, and you can see that the enemy team is capping the C cap point. So Storm Surge has got his anti-aircraft on. Enemy carrier is coming over with his planes, and he pops his defensive fire. Now, in my opinion, he popped that a little bit too late. He could have popped it a little bit sooner and helped out that battleship, but doesn't matter. All those planes are dead, and now he's going to push up there. There's the last enemy destroyer, who is full strength. This could be a bit of a problem if that destroyer knows what he's doing. In the meantime, Storm Surge is just going to push up here. He's going to try to keep this island between him and this Iowa. As he pushes up here, he's got torpedoes. He's slowing down, and he's going to wait to see what that Iowa is doing. That Iowa definitely has to know that he's back here, because obviously he was detected there briefly. So he's just going to wait, and he's going to bide his time, and he's going to use this island as cover. Again, classic American destroyer tactics. If you're having trouble with things like the Farragut or the Nicholas or even the Mahan, utilize tactics like this, work out really, really well. Now that Iowa does get hit, but it's not enough to kill him outright. Again, as I said, the damage on these torpedoes is okay, but it's not the best. It's kind of like the Z-52 in that respect. But second set goes out there, finishes him off. Storm Surge comes around this island. There's the Baltimore, and he switches over to armor piercing, hits him, finishes him off for a double strike, earning him his 4th kill. And now he's just got this Shimakaze left. With that Baltimore dead, he really doesn't have to worry about cruiser support. And honestly, a Shimakaze's worst nightmare is running into a Fletcher, then a Gearing, then a Harboros, then, well, you know what? A Shimakaze's nightmare is running into any destroyer that's not a Japanese destroyer. So Storm Surge can just go ahead and engage this guy. He doesn't have to worry about recapping the sea cap point. The only thing he really needs to concern himself with is the potential of torpedoes. But that Shimakaze looks like he doesn't have them available at the moment. He might have already used them. So he's going to continue getting shots out there. Look at that, knocking engines out, knocking modules out, setting them on fire. There come the torpedoes, but it's not going to matter. They're not going to reach anybody in time before that destroyer is gone. 127,000 damage there, a double strike, devastating strike, and Kraken Unleashed, earning him his Kraken at the very end with that final kill. Overall, an excellent game and an excellent use of the Grozovoi, showing what it can do, especially if you know how to play an American destroyer with those American destroyer tactics. Get up behind those islands and cause some serious problems. Not quite top of the team, though, for XP earned, only 2nd, but the top 2, well, the top 3, over 2,000 base XP amongst them. Anyway, that's it for today's video, folks. If you liked the video, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, leave a comment down below. If you'd like to get semi-regular channel news and updates, you can do so by liking and following me on Facebook. If you'd like to help support me in the channel, you can do so by becoming a supporter on Patreon. If you've got a replay like this one that you'd like to see featured on my channel, you can send it to my email. And if you'd like to watch me play various games, albeit intermittently, you can do so by following me on Twitch. You can find the links for all of those in the video description down below. And I'd like to wish everybody who's watching this on the day that it's published or the day after a happy Thanksgiving if you're in the US. And as always, I'll see you next time. This is Captain Rye, signing off.